gotta make a choice. So many whispers in my ear that I can't hear my voice. Tell me, will it end the situation that I'm in? Or am I bound to sit alone, drowning in my sin? Get right or get left, what will it be?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Loot Bros podcast. I'm your host, Resident Darrell, and with me, I have got the wall shaker himself, Mr. Beef Curtain ripping on the podcast. It's Tbyrd.
Oh, beef curtains. I like it.
There you go. What's up, Tbyrd?
Oh, Lord.
And then I have the man who holds Randy Pitchford's thumb drive. It is CJ.
What
Lord.
could you do with Randy Pitchford in the dark? I tell you, wouldn't it be lovely? Darrell, wouldn't you love to be in Randy Pitchford's drawer? Because there's a lot of,
You do magic tricks.
juicy little things in that drawer, I think. But look, I'm good, sir. I'm good all. Hi, Kalai. It's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful still to be alive in a what we're now described a national emergency over here. So the chance of me being alive next week is looking pretty slim as the COVID slowly claws its way around all New South Wales residents next. Darrell, it's a question now of whether my hair will get me first or the COVID. It's an exciting time to be alive.
Hey, well, there you go. There you go. All right. And finally, making her return to the show, the transsexual transvestite from Transylvania, it is Kalai.
Hell yeah. Thank you.
You didn't think I knew that, did you?
No, I did not. I'm very, very impressed.
No, don't be. It was disturbing. My father used to watch that movie. When you said you were going to see the Rocky Horror Picture Show thing or whatever, my dad used to watch that movie. And seeing Tim Curry dressed like a woman in bloomers was friggin' disturbing. And then my dad's like, hey, "Look, son, it's funny." I'm like, "No, Dad, that's not funny." Like Tim Curry in Congo, that was funny. No.
Well, you can tell your father that he has fantastic taste.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I will definitely not do that. All right, so this week we've got a
Tell you
very
what, I'm
special
looking forward to looking to the Patreon OnlyFans content because Jim is in for a show tonight.
There you go. Coming in clutch Kalai straight after her live presentation of Rocky Horror Picture Show 2. But yes, this week we got a very special guest. CJ and I have been talking about having this particular guest on for some time. He is a fellow podcaster. He has had an appearance on the Push to Plat podcast. And if I do say so myself, he seems pretty entertaining. All right. So we got Mr. Shadowless Edge. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Who said that I was entertaining? I've never been entertaining. What are you talking about?
I mean, hey, I enjoyed it. So I listened to the show.
Okay,
I thought it was
that's
good.
fair. I appreciate it. I have to try and just out funny CJ at every chance I've got. But I mean, like if you play an Xbox party with him, he does that himself. Like,
Look, here we go. Look at this. I couldn't figure out. I don't even know how the Xbox works out of the Zidalon games. And I finally joined a party because, you fucking invite every day. You never join or whatever. Now, this is wonderful, ponies. The PlayStation headset, the PlayStation doesn't do a lot, but the headset works on the Xbox in a party chat. So look, next time you bag that system as useless, look, it has a use. It has a use. Sorry, carry on.
There you go. It is the best-selling console for a reason.
For the headset, so you can use
It's getting ready to be a 3-time. That's right, 3-time best-selling console.
even going back a week ago, Microsoft was using PlayStation controllers in their advertising.
There you go.
Because you can use the controllers on the xCloud and that kind of stuff as well. So there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been doing that. I've been streaming xCloud to my iPad with a DualShock 4. So playing Xbox games on my Apple iPad with a PS4 controller. Welcome to the
what
future.
would make that even cooler?
Literally nothing.
Joy-Cons.
But yeah, sure.
No, wow, really? Literally nothing? So what I'm about to say wouldn't make it cooler?
Why not? But go ahead.
Okay. I want you to know this, CJ. He said it, not me. I would like to be able to do that with PS Now.
Yeah.
But that's obviously not cooler than Xbox.
Well, it doesn't quite.
What's PS Now?
That's right. What is PS Now?
So a long, long time ago. Oh my God, I got a trophy.
Music make you lose control.
a long time ago, PlayStation said we're gonna look ahead to the future, and we're going to get into this streaming and then downloading from the cloud and all this stuff. You guys might know of something a little similar, kind of a copycat, like called Game Pass. There's way less games on there, and most of their Metacritic scores are way lower than the ones on PS Now.
Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, but at least with Xbox, the games aren't older than my grandmother.
Well, no, you're right. But you have games like Outriders that doesn't work for 30 days on launch. And then you have games like Dark Alliance, which is not only bad enough, it's Dungeons and Dragons, but it's Dungeons and Broken. So, like, sure, it may be new. You're right. But it's no 10 out of 10, natural, normal PlayStation experience that you're going to get. But hey, you know what?
Are you saying that you're jealous that I have the shiniest turd on the block?
I don't know if it's the shiniest. It's more so the newest turd. Like us PlayStation, us Sony ponies, we're proud of our shiny turds. But Shadow, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and how some of the listeners might have already known about you.
So, I guess what I'm most famous for is I am the #1 Game Pass Hall of Famer for Australia, which I won last year. Basically, that was playing the most games in the service, which I think I ended up with 520.
That's insane.
I started when basically the competitions went for 3 weeks, but it took into consideration all the games that had been out on Game Pass, and started from roughly about 200, and then just I was having an incredibly tough year last year. Some of the listeners might already be aware, if you've heard me on Real Gamerscore or the Hall of Gamers before. I had a custody issue and didn't see my daughter during COVID, so I needed a perfect distraction, and just 3 weeks of uninstalling, reinstalling games, and just playing for the first achievement. Basically just took my mind off things for a little while, and ended up winning. At the same time, I was doing a podcast with 2 others that did win Hall of Fame as well. It's probably the funniest thing, out of all the places that could be winning these awards, my 2 co-hosts won for achievement hunting and Gamerscore. And as some of you may be aware, I do host a podcast with Neomaster, who is the #1 in Oceanic for achievements and Gamerscore.
Oh, for this week.
It
won't be there long.
You know what? He goes in stages. It'll get to a point where Mephisto starts catching up, and then he'll just drop 100,000 like nothing and hate himself for a few weeks.
It's
all about that quick push for him.
But just before you gloss over that, I know you mentioned before, could you mention the size of the total download, or approximately whatever, for doing that for 3 weeks, and also the prizes you got, because a lot of PlayStation gamers, they're not used to getting anything from Sony. The only time Sony contacts them is when their credit card bounces. So if you could share that would be wonderful.
That's actually not shade. That's the most serious CJ's ever been.
I gotta say, the one thing that I've seen Sony do in the past that I do appreciate is the when they did those first to complete, handing out those trophies. That was pretty cool. But yeah, that's as far as I know in terms of the PlayStation things. I like to stay on my side of the fence as much as I can. In terms of download size, I have a 40 megabit connection, which is you know the whole meme. Australian internet is shit house. It always has been. Unless you live in the city, you got no hope. I lived on a fucking dial-up connection up until the age of 17 or 18, and I remember.
Would you call it almost criminal?
Oh yes, it's horrible.
That was a low blow, Clay.
Sorry.
The amusing thing is, Darrell and I were from a time when we didn't even have the internet when we were 17. I tell you what, it's tough, isn't it?
I remember just staying up all night downloading songs through iTunes because dial-up is that fucking slow.
Yep.
But going back to it, over the course of these 3 weeks, I think my internet usage was 6 to 8 terabyte.
Oh Lord,
that's a $2,000 bill here.
Yeah, it's good having unlimited, but at the same time, just having a slow ass connection is just horrible. be spending days like, all right, I'm going to install these 3 games, go to work, do that, and cut away like that. The good thing about Game Pass, though, is there's that many games that could be considered indie darlings that are less than a gig. So I remember this was like after the competition, but I bought my partner an Xbox Series S, the one without the disk drive, and essentially installed as many indies as I could. I think I filled it up with like 150 games just as a traveling console of all these just quick little things that I could jump around with Gamerscore. But yeah, 6 to 8 terabyte. It was a crazy ass 3 weeks to. And then there'll be stuff like there were certain games like Stellaris, which is a PC space exploration sort of game. I don't know how well to describe it, but I had no idea what I was doing in that game. I joined one of their Discord communities, and I'm just like, all right, I need the easiest way to get an achievement in this. And they're like, why are you wondering about the achievements in that? Oh, I'm basically going to get the first achievement in this game and then uninstall this piece of crap. They didn't take too kindly to that.
Well, now I have a question about that. You literally just got the first achievement in every game? Like, you didn't
Yeah.
proceed?
So there's something in the achievement hunting community called a beam dive, which is there's a user on TA called Bean Potter that came up with this like event idea where once a year you would start as many games as possible in your tag. So to get a game to show up on True Achievements, you need to pop the first achievement, so then it syncs to your tag. So essentially, because the competition was that vague onto how often, how long did you have to play these Game Pass games? What did you need to do? I just went, all right, first achievement in each of these games is going to be a safe bet, because depending on where they're getting their data from, like if they're getting their data from True Achievements, then I know that every Game Pass game is synced up with my profile. Was my reasoning behind that.
And you won some pretty good prizes too out of it.
Yeah, so
yeah, I really did want to know what you wanted to win, so thank you for asking that, CJ. That was my question.
So I won a Series X. I won 12 months of Game Pass Ultimate. I won a friggin' cool trophy, and I won a Hall of Fame hoodie, which I tend to try and show off on every case I have. But like, you just don't have like a video podcast, so I can't be like, I'm not even wearing it today. What is this?
Yeah, we got banned from the video feeds.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got it confused with our OnlyFans, and Twitch and YouTube wasn't too keen on that.
Yeah, so they're pretty good prizes. I mean, like, it's a crazy 3 weeks, obviously, but it's pretty cool.
The funny thing about the competition too is when the original winners were announced in October, my name wasn't on there. And I actually sent an email off to Microsoft saying, like, what's the go? And just showing proof of how my numbers were incorrectly tracked, how Neo Masters were incorrectly tracked. And then they basically did a rehaul of the contest and announced the true winners in December.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's funny because I was following a couple of guys, and I saw their little packages they got sent, their trophies, their hoodies, and all that stuff. Man, it was really cool, and it really did. That was when it started to, between that and then the quests, it really started to dawn on me that, like, Microsoft, for all the crap we give them on this show, and for all the crap we give the shills that they send over here and the bots they send over here to sit on the panel with us, like.
I need that check. We're in a national disaster. Can you shut your mouth, Phil? I already missed a week of my Ratalaika codes. I thought we got cut off last week, but they're back. They're back, listeners. Don't panic. But
wait, you guys are getting codes now?
I need that Phil money. So watch what you say, sir.
Well, what happened was they gave us codes, and then we didn't shout out their games on there, and then it was like two dry weeks. So they cut me off.
I think the problem might be we did shout out their games. We just said the wrong thing.
Oh, yeah. No, they cut me back off again, so I was like, okay, whatever. No, but yeah, I saw that stuff, and I was like, man, for all the crap that we give Microsoft, and the people that come on the show and love on them, it's like, dude, they really do have their ear to the ground. And the way they treat their achievement hunting community is awesome. And the quests for Game Pass and all that stuff. And it's just like, it's a really good place to be. It's a good time to be a gamer. It's a good time to be an Xbox fan. And that's a really good place to sink your efforts, because man, it's like, we're over here on the PlayStation side, and Sony's just like, yeah, buy our games, buy our stacks, keep going. I'm sorry. I got a trophy.
Music make you lose control.
It really is though. Like if you don't play on Xbox, you don't realize. But that hook of like, if you earn one achievement like every day, you can exchange the achievement. You go into the rewards thing on the Xbox and you get 50 points, which is, like, I don't know, it's equates to money eventually, like, one day. But just that hook of actually doing that, it's a really clever move, like, because it's a couple of cents or something, but that desire, to earn one. And it makes sense now. Like, we had Cool Kid Joe around for a while and stuff. Like, they had these years of achievement streaks, but it makes sense when, you're just like, hey, I'll do it. I'll get my 50 points and I'll log on to it. That gets me some points. And it is a very good system, I think.
Yes. PlayStation does have something similar where you can earn points.
Yep.
Except that you have to have their credit card, and they charge like 20% interest.
Well, so yes and no. You could have done it without the credit card first, and they got rid of the trophy passes, because I did that for like, I think it was close to 2 years. And you would just go into the app and activate, I want to do trophy passes, and every 10 platinums, you got 1,000 points, which equated to $10 on the store. There was a tier for gold. It's not 250 gold trophies. No, it was 100 gold trophies, 250 silver, and 1,000 bronze. And it all broke down into money. And I was buying all my rat games with money that I was winning for getting trophies on the system. But I do have their credit card, and I do all of my miscellaneous spending through it. And I usually accumulate a few $100, through their a month, just from doing my normal shopping, normal spending, all my gas and groceries, crap like that, reoccurring bills like cell phone bills and stuff like that. And I just pay the balance off every month, like I would normally do if I was going on my debit card, and I don't gain interest. And I got $108 in my account right now. I'm trying to buy Ratchet and Clank, but the physical version sold out on the store. So. But yeah,
I think it's fair to say, like, we've talked about it before, but I think everyone on this show enjoys playing the store more than the actual games. And to have that reward app, it's like I'm not even playing the Xbox anymore. I'm just playing the Microsoft reward app. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
I get my stuff for the day.
$10 on there, CJ. I just got $10 on the It was funny. It was like 2 weeks ago. I cashed out my achievements. I got $10 in the store, and then I went and bought Soma for like $2.99. I own it on PlayStation. Haven't played it. I own it on Xbox now.
That's why you need it.
And then I bought Super Destronaut on the store. So got me 1,000 G. So. But yeah, that's cool. Thank you, Shadow. Thank you for talking about that briefly and all that stuff. We're gonna dig more into some of that stuff, hopefully. But we're 22 minutes into the show. This is the Loot Bros podcast, and we haven't toasted yet. I'm getting thirsty.
Oh, yeah, me too.
So this week's toast is actually overdue, but this one goes out to one of our listeners, good friend of the show and meme master. Jared, he actually just had twin boys. So, Jared, we want to toast to you, and we want to toast to your awesome meme skills and that amazingly photorealistic meme you made of CJ.
Amazing.
Yeah, Shadow, if you're not familiar with the show, we usually like to celebrate something at the beginning of every show. There's a lot of podcasts out there where everyone hates on everything, and they get on their shows and they're like, oh man, everything sucks and everything's so bad. So on the Loot Bros podcast, we try to pick something or someone out there to celebrate before we crap on everything else. So
he comes from a structured show. I think he's realized by now that this is not a structured show.
I agree with the let's not do negativity piece.
So, well, if you think this is not structured, you ain't seen nothing yet. So,
Put
but
it back in the pants, please. Jesus.
I had never had it in.
Oh,
I started this whole thing off pantsless. So,
I
but
tell you what, that's what people don't tell you when you work from home. The fact that you just don't need pants at all. It's wonderful.
dude, if only I tried the whole like don't wear pants to work thing just because
Mm.
I figured everybody working from home they'd be used to it. So they come back to the shop and it's like, hey, look, Darrell's not wearing pants. We're good. But no, I went straight to HR, got in trouble.
I tell you what, if a middle-aged man not wearing pants is the only problem America has at the moment, then I think you're going to be fine.
Well, it's funny because we had some news reports coming out there for a while as people were working from home, flipping their menus from one Skype call to the other and then servicing themselves. And a couple of politicians got in trouble for flipping to the wrong Zoom call with the wrong tool in their hand, if you know what I'm saying.
Who hasn't done that?
So, but Shadow, since you are the guest of honor, why don't you let us know what you've been playing?
I've been playing a bit this week. I did Halo Reach campaign on Legendary to get the under 3-hour achievement. I'm essentially trying to work on Halo MCC at the moment, Master Chief Collection. I'm down to my last 14 achievements.
Oof, that's a lot of achievements.
Yeah, so out of what's that, like 686 out of 700?
Good Lord.
I've been working on that game since launch, and the only stuff I've got to do is the 2 Lasso, which is Legendary All Skulls On, runs for ODST and Reach, 4 speed runs from 1 to 4, some multiplayer achievements, and just some miscellaneous Halo CE bullshit. But I've been enjoying it, and I've made a friend from the States that we've tried to make our connections work with each other, but God, it's a pain in the ass. Campaign multiplayer across regions in that game is a fucking joke. But luckily, the multiplayer, just normal multiplayer, just works flawlessly between everybody from my experience. Played a bit of that. Played some Splitgate last night after I heard some glowing reviews from members of the achievement hunting community saying how fun it was and how it was a mix of Halo and Portal. I played a few games and I'm already hooked, which is not a good sign because it's going to be a very time-heavy game. There is an achievement that has like 1,047 wins in it.
Good Lord.
So this might be my next time sink, and I've still got to finish out Knockout City. Other than that, the other major title I've been playing this week is Death's Door, which just released, and it is fucking amazing. Game of the Year contender, and I definitely recommend you guys should check it out.
What kind of game is it?
It's one of those like isometric hack and slash like dungeon crawler kind of types.
Okay.
Like not dungeon crawler, but like that kind of gameplay. The worlds are beautiful. You've got like these big menacing bosses that essentially the game is you're a crow that is being tasked to essentially take the souls of these creatures or beings that have like they've cheated, they're past their morality. They're they should have passed a long time ago. They've found out a secret to basically extend their life, and it's like you're the crow that has to cull them.
It says Death's Door.
Yeah, Death's Door.
Is it roguelite or is it?
It's more Metroidvania because you've got like 4 skills that you have to like go back. I was saying on the podcast last night, it has those kind of like roguelite feels to it in terms of gameplay, but it's not roguelite itself, if that makes sense.
How does it punish you when you die? Like how severe is it?
It's like it's no. This is why I say it's like not roguelite in that sense. It's similar to other roguelite games that I've played, which set you back to the start, but it's not like that in this game, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like this one is a constant, you're dying, you're staying in the same spot, but you're going to constantly die and struggle against the wall until you get through, which I'm a fan of those kind of games, whereas other people will go like, I've died like 15 times on this boss, I give up.
That sounds perfect for you, Tanner.
Yeah. Yeah,
but it is
totally.
It's getting glowing reviews from everywhere. From what I've seen, it is an amazing game. Small indie team of I think 2 people.
Oh, wow.
For Acid Nerve. They made another game as well, but I can't think of what it is in my head. And published by Devolver,
They usually
everybody's
put out
favorite
pretty
nut
good
house publisher.
games. Oh yeah. So,
Saying that, I saw like it's been a year of Carrion already too. If anybody is aware of that game,
Oh wow.
I played that for a little while.
just how
Sure.
quickly the years are going during lockdowns. Which thanks CJ, really appreciate being in lockdown again. Just blaming that all on you, buddy.
You're all right. Don't worry. Dan's not going to send any of his Pfizer across the border. We sent it all down, but you guys are going to keep it. You'll be fine. Actually, I'm not sure
I need to get
that's
my shots.
true. I think that could be liberal propaganda, but who knows? It sounds good.
Oh, just liberal with their propaganda. When do they ever do that?
Look, I wouldn't worry. We'll all be dead in a few weeks, so you can come and take this state.
Hey, well, look, man. Just as soon as you get your shots out there, then the next strain's gonna be there, and it's like, oh wait, you're fully vaccinated. Well, guess what? Doesn't do anything for the Delta.
Here's
strain.
Delta 0.2.
Well, if
Yeah.
Biden could just remember his name and where he put the shipment to send to Australia, we'd be fine. because-
Look, man, he's
Yeah,
too.
good luck with that.
Come on, man. Corn pop. That dude can't make a complete sentence. It's just literally impossible. So
He's still better than Trump, in my opinion. You've still upgraded.
dude, I can't see it. I can't see it policy wise. I can't see it personality wise. Like, sure, he doesn't say mean stuff to people, but that's because he can't. complete a
Okay.
sentence.
You're not a laughing joke in the eyes of the rest of the world at the moment, from what I see,
I don't know.
as compared to a few years ago.
Oof, I don't know, man.
This
it's
podcast got
hard
too
to
real
watch.
all of a sudden.
It's hard to watch. Like it's terrible. Like, it'd be nice.
Can we go back to video games?
Yes, please. You got to be careful here, Shadow. These are Americans. Their gun is on the table at all times. So they will draw on you.
Actually, y'all hear this? Look,
Welcome to the South,
Hey.
son.
that's me setting my pistol on the table.
That's right.
It was digging into my hip. I'm like, what's going on over here? You said gun. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I hadn't taken it off yet.
He's getting real excited.
Wait, you're not wearing pants. Where were you holding that?
Tbyrd, what's he been playing?
We're not gonna slide right by that.
I tell you
It's
what, you've
called-
upgraded yourself from the Move controller, sir. I'm
It's called
impressed.
the
That's
dong
flexibility.
holster. You know what I'm saying? You just
Well, wait. I thought that I know you've been working out and trying to slim down. Did you like have so much hip muscle that it actually just holds the holster up?
it's like a bicep on my hip. Yeah, basically, it's just I just flex a little bit and it's like bang bang, it just goes right off. So
So it's like almost a dick pop.
it's like a desk pop, but with your wiener. So absolutely, Tbyrd, what have you been
Oh,
playing?
good lord. I've just been working on Demon Souls. I'm 2 bosses away from beating the game.
There you go. There you go.
It's much easier this go around.
Now, is it easier because it's playable and the frame rate is sustainable, or is it
Yes,
you're just familiar with the game because you suffered through it the first time?
I'm familiar with it, and it's so much more easier to play the game when it actually runs properly. Now, granted, it's not that big of a step up from the PS3 version, so it still looks pretty dated.
Wow.
That's the PS5.
Yep, it's the
Right.
power of next gen.
How are you finding the system? Because look, I must admit, I almost swallowed my, my foot when I heard you say you bought a PS5 in the other episode. It shocked me. How are you finding it?
Annoying. I was telling Darrell, I was trying to find where to look at the trophies because that section's gone. So now it's like, oh, it's just little cards of everything now. Just kind of weird.
By far the most frustrating part about the entire system is they just convoluted some of the menus. It's like you have 2 more buttons you have to press to get to your trophies, and now they're laid out in such a way that you don't even want to look at them. So I told him, I was like, don't even try. Just turn on PSN profiles and wait for the firmware update. There's no way it's going to stay like this forever. It's just terrible. Like the card system, like the layout for the trophies is such a 10 steps backwards from what we had. So it's dumb. But
That's it for me, though.
so all right, CJ.
Yeah. Let's have a look here. So, what rather than like delve into anything, I'll just throw one or two. And I have to give a big shout out to, I forget the company that made this, but you will be familiar with them, listeners. Of course, we had Chickens Cross the Road. We had Run into the Building for 5 minutes holding the up key platinum. And now we have, Darrell, I'm not sure if you've done this yet, Kalai, you'd love it. The wonderful Funny Truck, available in 3 regions, a 5-minute plat where you drive a truck and your aim is to knock the people out of the back of the truck. They sort of auto spawn in and you have to knock out. It's like a high scorer thing. So it's exactly the same as the chickens game, but now in a truck. Have you come across this yet? Anyone?
I am downloading it right now.
It's wonderful. So, and don't forget the Hong Kong stacker. Shout out to our Hongkonese listeners there. What else I played? I'm just gonna label all the crap this week. Kinofa. Now this is just. Have you played this yet, Shadow? It's wonderful.
What is it?
Kinofa.
No, I haven't even heard of it.
This is a strange game. Now, it has a story like most games do. It's not very interesting, but I'm going to bore you with it. It appeared on the Xbox store like about a month ago. And like I was used to this sort of thing happening on PlayStation where they release a game and it's so garbage that they pull it the same day. It happens all the time on PlayStation. So you know you have to get in quickly. It's a quick plat or whatever. Anyway, I thought this doesn't happen on the Xbox. It's a quality system. The games will stay there. Anyway, they did the same thing. They pulled it. Maybe it came out too early. I don't know. And of course, all the degenerates have it on their list, you know, the already. And so I've been trying to get this game for a month or so, but it finally is out on the store. You can get it now. I know it's on PlayStation 2, multiple stacks. It's a side-scrolling shooter. It's not too bad. Like it's a 15-minute plat, so what you expect. Or whatever else. So add that to your list there, Darrell. That's another 3 platinums. We can we can throw that one on there for you. I think that's all the PlayStation stuff I played. It's wonderful, isn't it? And then now look at this for Xbox. This is exciting. This is exciting for me. I've been waiting for this game for months to go on sale because I'm trying to show some sort of self-control, and it is the wonderful Balan Wonderworld. Now, is anyone interested in playing this gem of a Square Enix? No, it's just garbage, but it's not going to stop me from playing it. But no, it's actually not as bad as you think because you load into the game and it's like the cutscenes are like they're really good. Like it looks like, you know, it's going to be a AAA game. You see Square Enix there, you know, you see the price tag if you pay full price for it and you're like, yeah, this is a real game. And then the actual gameplay is like it's way more basic looking than the cutscene. So they've obviously dumped all their money into the musical. And it's a musical game. So they've dumped all their money into that side. So that's really cool. And like if you're a kid playing this, I think that would be awesome. And then the platforming inside it's very simple or whatever else. But I've only played like the first chapter because I'm gonna enjoy it over time, I think. So that was pretty cool. And then I don't think I thought you were going to talk about Scarlet Nexus, Hannah. Did you not play any more of that this week?
I have not played too much more of it.
I played a bit more of it. I think I might be a little bit ahead of you now. I'm into like phase 6 or so. And like we were talking 2 weeks ago about occasionally the game is a little cheap. And there's this, I don't know if you've got it to it yet, this brain, like your stat points are, like if you're thinking listeners, where you invest your skills in, it's like this brain map and you invest the points to unlock certain abilities, you know, and moves and increasing your gauge and stuff like this. But then there's this like brain overdrive mode, which you can go into. And it makes you like really like super powered, but it also has a timer. And if you don't come out of that mode before it sort of runs out, you die automatically. So the problem is it's not like a uniform amount of time. So it's not like one to, you know, you can see the seconds count, it can jump. So, you know, you can be in a boss fight, you activate it because you're getting your ass handed to you and you'll get back on top. But then you never exactly know, or I can't figure it out, you never seem to know when it's going to stop. And if you don't get out, like, so it's like a gamble, I suppose, which is sort of cool. But you're like, should I just push it a bit more, or you know, will I be dead completely from this mechanic? So maybe that explains more. I'll be interested to see, Tanner, what you think of that because it's a very OP move, but as I said, you don't know when it's going to backfire on you. So it's a cool element, I think. So I've been enjoying that, and then I finally finished the Elder Scrolls Online, the base game story. And it was good. It was very good. I don't know, Tanner, did you ever play this one? Or I don't think anyone else would have.
I played it years ago when it not when it first came out, but probably a year or two after it came out. I didn't get very far in it at all.
Yeah, I tried as well before the one Tamriel thing, and I know I'm boring everyone here because no one plays MMOs, but I tried a few years ago too, and it was just too convoluted for me. And I'll just talk a little on it because I know JT, God rest him, he's smashing Final Fantasy 14 now, which is awesome, sir. I'm gonna come back eventually to that game and play some with you. But he sent me a message. So it's like a 1,000-hour game. He sent me a message. Oh, I just picked up the whole collection of Elder Scrolls Online as well. I was like, oh, good luck to you, sir.
He's a
There, getting
beast,
through
man.
that. He is a beast, but he'll get there. But I sort of explain it to him a little. This one Tamriel, the game has been changed different to Final Fantasy 14, that there's no level gating anymore. So everything scales to your level. So you can actually finish the end of the base story, which you would have had to have been level 50. You can finish it at like level 20. I think I was level 22. The final monsters or the monsters will scale to your level, which is it's a really interesting thing to do in an MMO that's usually level gated, for time and stuff like that. And what it also means is that because there's so many expansions to that game, you can actually move between expansions or move between DLC whenever you want. You don't have to hit level caps or whatever to be able to play them, which is it's very distinct from Final Fantasy 14, which is very linear, and you can't play the last story, first or whatever else, and you do have to spend time grinding. Although I understand they have softened that, I'm not sure how much later. So in a long-winded way, this game has become way more approachable and also much more of a single-player experience. Like I haven't really played with anyone, which is my preferred way of gaming. And it's actually worked quite well so far. And there is matchmaking for the dungeons if you want to do them, but the dungeons are actually not in the base story, different to 14 as well. So it's a very approachable game to play like an hour here or there, which is unusual for an MMO where you've usually got to play for 4 or 5 hours to make any sort of progress at all. So if you're sort of at all sitting on the fence, it is free on Game Pass. God knows what it would cost you on the Pony Box to invest in this game, but
$1 million.
it's $1 million. It's worth a look. I think I'm quite enjoying it. And then finally, because I'm dragging on, I know I'd just like to give a shout out to a couple of people this week, because with my work, for the last 2 years through the pandemic, I kept working and out of the house as well. So I haven't, I do a couple of days at home, but it's been quite a sea change to spend every single day here. And my partner is living now interstate at the moment for his work, because if he comes back, so I'm sort of by myself a lot, which is interesting and dangerous perhaps on the store. But a little bit of a shout out to I'm Styling on You, Bro, an American friend that I've been playing some golf that I forget what it is, Golf with Friends game. And it's a super fun pick up, put down game, because of course, as you know, Darrell, our time zones are crazy different.
Yep.
So it's hard to, even 10 minutes can be difficult. So I've really enjoyed that. A fellow Australian player in Perth, in the relatively safe Perth, Olsero, it's been great to have some chats with as well. And I think that, and Zador VP, who keeps giving me game suggestions for amazing Switch games as well. So it's been quite nice to have some social, gaming element as well while I'm trapped in this prison. But yeah, that's me this week.
Sweet. Thank you so much for the spam suggestions. By the way, I am popping trophies left and right. I'm not going to announce them just because Tanner will really hate me on this edit. So Kalai, what have you been playing?
So I bought a package from Fanatical. If anybody doesn't know what Fanatical is, it is a website kind of like GOG, where you can get like Steam. Well, not really like GOG, but you can get Steam Key. And every once in a while, they do like for $7 you get 10 games, but you don't know what the games are. So it's kind of like, you're gambling. So if I have a bad week and it comes up, it usually makes me feel better. And I got a game on there that was so ridiculous looking that I absolutely had to play it before we recorded tonight. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be like the next Ratalaika game. That's the type of game it is. I could absolutely see that Ratalaika latching onto this game and putting it out for everybody to get. It's called Save Jesus.
So are we talking about like saving Jesus, like Jesus, or just a random homeless guy that looks like Jesus?
A
Like
Hispanic fella named Jesus.
Jesus, the Black Jesus.
Nope. We are actually saving Jesus. And it is a puzzler. Yeah, it's a puzzler. You're dressed up as a Roman, trying to spring the traps that have been set up to kill Jesus.
That's pretty interesting.
Yes.
I was like, I absolutely have to play this. And it's really, really funny too, because if you get it wrong, you'll actually kill Jesus instead of saving him, and he just goes right up to heaven. Whoa!
These games would only ever exist on PC. It's wonderful.
I know. It reminds me of like a couple of Radalaka games where like basically all it is puzzles. It's level after level of puzzles where you have to, click get rid of sand to like make sure that the ball drops correctly. You want to hit all 3 stars, then you want to kill the Roman.
You should send them an email. More than likely, they'll pick that game up.
Right?
Yeah.
The only other game I've been playing is Dragon Quest 11 because I'm actually really addicted to that game. It's the last game on my second list, Darrell. So I'm almost actually done my second list.
This year's gonna be over before you finish that game.
Well, originally I was like, oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna absolutely just drop this game and put a whole bunch of other games on my list. That way, because when I get closer, I can put it back on my list and get my point and zero out. Except that I can't stop playing it. I can't physically put the game down to play a different game. So at this point, I'm just gonna keep going until I absolutely don't want to play it anymore, and then maybe I'll take it off my list or I'll be done it. I don't know. Apparently, there's two credit scenes. Probably after the first credit scene, I might be like, "Oh look, credits! I'm done."
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say you're very close to that. I wouldn't stop. You're very close to that first credit screen. So I'd finish that.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That makes me feel better.
Well, I wouldn't tell anybody, but I would take a picture of said credits and then say, "Oh, look, got my point. Moving on."
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, that's what everybody's done. I don't know, or maybe I know of one person. Like everyone says they've beaten that game. That's what they mean because the second half of that game, and like how long you've put in so far, Kalai. Like the second half is just as long, but it's way more grindy because the level of the enemies just really skyrockets. So you just got to whack the same monster for hours, sort of thing, grindy. So I'd stop there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sweet.
That's it. So what about you, Darrell? Take it home.
So I said earlier that I've been playing around with XCloud. So my wife's been just marathoning trash TV in the evenings, and we got the the Discovery Plus. So it's basically nonstop 90 Day Fiance, 90 Days Love After 90, 90 Day Fiance 2. I mean, just Life After Lockdown, all that. It's just straight up. It is a subscription service for just reality TV, and my wife is freaking addicted. So what I've been doing is I just been sitting beside her on my recliner with my iPad in my lap, and I synced up a PS4 controller and just started streaming XCloud because I heard you had mentioned that the beta was going for our iOS, and surprisingly enough, it works pretty good. Actually, we were in the studio a week ago, maybe is when I started it. I was actually in the studio listening to our vocalist do vocal tracking, and I brought it with me and I was going to try it. So I sat there and I hooked up an Xbox controller, tried it out. It worked really well. I played Injustice 2 because I figure if this thing will play a fighter halfway decent, then it'll work. And it did okay. It was a little bit of latency, but nothing that I'm not used to with like streaming a PS Now game, like to my Vita or something. So then when I got home, I was like, I'll try a bunch of other stuff. So I hooked up a PS4 controller to see how that would work opposed to the Xbox controller. They work the same. There's no difference. But I played a little bit more Injustice. I played a little bit of Resident Evil 7. The latency got really bad on that one. It did not play that game well at all. But there's another game, and I don't have my my Xbox stuff around me to tell you the name of the game, but it's like a little isometric hack and slash game where you're like a wolf, and it's on Game Pass. Everything you cut up, you straight up slice and dice, and there's blood everywhere, and it's very Hotline Miami-esque. I can't remember the name of it, but either way, it's really good. I really enjoyed it, and it played that really well. It streamed it very well, going to the iPad. So I messed around with that. Knocked out some spam games. Knocked out just a handful of the breakthrough gaming easy platinums. And there's a $1, 15-minute plats or whatever. I've been
Can I
playing.
ask you a question
ahead.
before? Because I don't want you to skirt over this, and I obviously mean no disrespect. You're a religious man. I respect that. Those games, they have their Bible quotes every week within the game or whatever else. What do you like? What do you think of all this? Like, I think it's a wonderful way to sneak some religion into us atheists. What do you feel about that?
So as a straight white Christian man, it's cool. It's weird.
In the minority,
because,
that's right. Yes.
yeah, definitely. But it's cool because you just don't see that very often. And granted, to me, it's not extremely effective. And also, like the way they throw their Bible verses on there, it's just kind of like these are really, really low tier garbage games. And then it's like you almost have to like sit at the main menu for a minute for the verse to pop up. But it's cool. I mean, it's a good way to, I guess, let other believers out there know that, hey, this is what I am, and this is my game. I mean, we don't really get a lot of Christian games, or games from a Christian perspective. I mean, most everything is the stark contrast,
Well, now you have Save Jesus.
Right. And then there's another one. There's something to Calvary. I don't think it's I think it's more sacrilegious than anything. But I don't know. It was interesting. It was like, for me, I was like, oh, cool. A believer's making games. Too bad the games aren't good. But I bought all of them. I bought them.
Well, they're all easy.
I would have bought them whether they were believers or not. But it's interesting.
I didn't mean anything offensive, obviously, by it. But I find it quite interesting because I read them because I never had like religious training or whatever else. Life may have been completely different, Darrell. If I had, who knows? Although I'm told it's not a choice, so I'm not sure. Maybe not. But shout out to the Reverend Fred Nile here. That strange joke. Where was I going with this? But no, I find it interesting because one of the problems is if you've had no religious training, it's very hard to do a cryptic crossword because there is a lot of religious quotes or parts in there. So I've considered at times to read the text so I can do that. But now I figure if I just play enough of these games, because they come every week on a Sunday here, I'll get my readings that way, which is wonderful.
There you go. Before you know it, we'll get the entire Bible in, and then we'll get a bunch of
I think we
platinums
will. One a week. Yeah.
It's cool. And it's one of those things to where, in an industry that prides itself on diversity and inclusion, that exists. And it's not something that's usually out there. So it's cool. It's like, we got a little bit of everything for everybody. And then we got this really, really, really bad set of games with a little bit of scripture in it. So, hey, we're all covered now. There's something for everybody. But I've been playing them and they're pretty terrible. And I am not going to stop playing them. So, do with that what you will. I would say, a little bit of I've been buying a lot of Xbox 360 games, like a ridiculous amount. So I've been playing a little bit of Xbox 360, just chipping away at some Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. I play about a mission of that a night before bed. But the main thing I've been playing, I guess the only real game of note, would be A Plague Tale: Innocence. It is so good, way better than it has any right being. I'm playing the PS5 version. I've owned the PS4 version since near launch. I don't think I bought it day one, but I bought it in that launch window. And the PS5 version is free with Plus. And I was like, you know what? I'll try it. Someone on a podcast said you can feel the rats through the controller. And I was like, okay, definitely. I am hooked on this whole haptic feedback and, the trigger gimmick. I think it's just so freaking cool.
Feel the rats?
Yeah. So have you played A Plague Tale before?
I played it, like, but the only time I feel the rats is when I'm playing Ratalakas, and I feel disgusted with myself after.
Listen, he's got 500,000 gamer score worth of trash, and he's drawing the
Yeah, he
line
does.
there.
Yeah,
Oh
he
my
does.
goodness! Come on.
So,
Come on.
but yeah,
No,
so
but I'm very interested by that comment, like feeling the rats through your controller.
you know
I
how
don't know if
there's
that makes me feel like cringe.
it's very cringy. It's cool though. It's one of those things to where the haptic feedback is really adding another layer of to the experience, and I think it's really shining in these horror or horror-esque like experiences. So with this one, you know how there's like hordes of rats that come like charging at you, and they're the entire room will fill up. Well, you
Yeah.
can as the group or the horde or the wave of them kind of makes their way around you. There's like little tiny bits of vibration. Like, can you hear that noise I'm making? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it on my microphone. So sorry, listeners, but like just a little bit of like little footsteps almost, and it will make its way from left to right across the entirety of your controller, sometimes even through the triggers. So as you get like a light or something, and the rats scurry away from the light, the vibration goes way more to the left, way more to the right, stuff like that, and it's just really really cool. With Resident Evil 8 Village, there is a particular scene where there's a really grotesque monster, and it gets out of view, but you can feel it sliding across the ground through the haptic feedback on your controller. And I'm really, really starting to seek out these games that are actually using the haptic feedback and like kind of making that like a more than just a gimmick. Like this is an actual layer to the experience. And Plague Tale Innocence, it's good. The story's really good. The graphics are pretty decent. It's got like that fine amount of Euro jank that like I'm really attracted to, making it feel like a B movie. I'm really digging the relationship between the girl and her brother, but the times where the rats just burst out of the ground and run across the the rooms and the areas, it's cool, man. It's very very cool. It's very interesting. I like playing that way versus I can imagine this game would be less interesting playing on PS4 without that. So
It's funny you mentioned that because I played that on the Pro, and like an amazing game, as you say, but quite often, and it's a well documented fact, quite often there'd be a huge amount of frame rate issues because just the number of rats on the screen
yeah,
in certain parts. So I imagine playing, because this version is like they've actually fixed, I'm sure they fixed all that, and it's a proper
yeah.
next gen version. So if you haven't played, was it free or not
Yeah,
free
it's
with
it's the
PS5? Yeah.
PS5 free game this month.
Yeah, so if you haven't played it and you have a PS5, it would be awesome to jump on. And if you don't, maybe just exchange how you do with the PS4 in the library, get it free, and then but wait till you have a PS5 to play it, because I think that boost, like I imagine the PS5 is good. I can't wait to play it again myself in 4K 120 frames per second with my 59 teraflops. But a second best experience on the 5 is good too.
Yeah. I mean, second best is good.
The
First
first loser.
best for me because that's all I have access to and all I want access to. So,
Now, I have a question. That haptic feedback, can you use that on PC? Do we know?
No, you
I
can't.
don't believe so.
Isn't it the developers have programmed the feature into
Yep.
the game, and yeah.
Yep. So it's cool, man. It's everyone made a big deal about 3D Rumble with the Switch. And they're like, oh, you can feel the balls rolling around in your hand on these games, and then they pick up the Joy-Cons.
Because that's what you want, Darrell.
Right. So, and I was like,
you can feel the need to sue Nintendo when your controllers don't work after
yeah,
how long for some
after
of them.
6 weeks. So,
Jeez.
yeah, dude, I got a drawer full of broken drifty Joy-Cons right here, but I was excited because I like Rumble. I think that is a really cool feature. I like the feedback when I'm playing games. And I remember when the PS3 came out, they put out the Six-axis controller or whatever, and the 6-axis or whatever it is, and they didn't have Rumble because of some patent and some kind of lawsuit. So whenever I got the DualShock 3, I will not use one of those janky, other controllers on the PS3. just because it doesn't have Rumble. And like I was a Rumble Pack kid on the Nintendo 64. I had the wrist rumbler for the PS1. It plugged into the controller slot, and you plugged your controller into it, and you put the wristband around your wrist or whatever else you decided, and then you would have it rumble there. So I think that's cool. I think that that's another layer of gaming that's interesting, and that it typically gets overlooked because it's subtle. But the PS5 is really using it in a very interesting way, and I think it's going to shine in action games with lots of shooting and the horror titles. And like I've been playing Call of Duty Cold War, and just every gun feels different. Like it's pretty interesting. Resident Evil Village, all the guns feel different, and grabbing an assault rifle and just kind of firing shots and just it's cool. It's very cool. So.
Just to piggyback off that, I'm not going to look this up, but someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right. The French developer behind that Plague's Tale, Innocent, you might know, Shadow, they're tied in with the flight simulator for Microsoft,
Yeah,
aren't they?
so Asobo have done they've done Flight Sim, they've done Plague Tale. I honestly am surprised that Microsoft hasn't bought them already. They've also done, do you remember Sitting Ducks, the ABC Kids show? Yeah, they did a game based around that.
Oh, wow.
They've had such a interesting,
very diverse
backlog of games that just each one is so drastically different from the other, and I'm really excited for the Plague Tale sequel.
Yes. So that's cool. I'm hoping to finish up Plague Tale this weekend, and you never know, you might hear a little deep dive on the Loot Bros. I really enjoyed this game. I'm very excited about it. So it's been good.
Levi's Game of the Year. His 10th Game of the Year.
From my suggestion.
I played 15 minutes. Game of the Year contender. Till I forgot my pistol.
Just
trash.
Just some of their other ones too. Zoo Tycoon, Disneyland Adventures, Rush, the Disney Pixar one. They've had quite a interesting,
very different,
yeah, backlog. And then some of the ports like Quantum Break as well.
Oh wow, okay.
A lot of Disney in their list.
Well, whatever they're doing is working, because that game is very, very awesome. So I hope they continue to do games like that. So with that being said, we're going to move into our leaderboards. But first, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. We got some big stuff coming up next week. We'll be making a really cool, exciting announcement on the future of what we're going to do with the podcast. We've got some episodes popping up in the 2236 feed. We have Avocation to Climb, CJ's monthly Xbox podcast that Phil Spencer obviously funded himself.
Come on, Phil.
It was very good, man. It was very good. I enjoyed it. I listened to it. I actually checked it out on the YouTube until it went live on the podcast feed. And I listened to it a second time. It's a very interesting group of hosts you got there, and it was very cool to listen to you guys talk as a section of the community that's just, I don't want to say a cut above or a step above, but it's
crazy.
Different. Well, yeah, they're very, very dedicated.
Crazy is very accurate.
But it's like listening that like the being at the top of the leaderboard and those conversations that like how they like, look, man, I'll throw 50,000 achievement points in no time. I'll throw 100K this month or whatever. And it's like, I mean, this is stuff that I'll do in a year trying,
It's scary to think about, because like being best friends with somebody who's on top of one of the region's leaderboards in the world, like I know that he is very efficient in what he is very about what's the quickest way I can do something with the least amount of effort possible. And I don't get the same feeling from those other massive achievement hunters. So it was very interesting listening to that podcast.
Yes.
It's going to be an interesting project, because like with most podcasts that you listen to, like that you would enjoy listeners, there's usually banter and repartee between the hosts because of their shared histories, or they know each other. What's fun about that is none of us know each other, or maybe Memph and Rogue know a little bit, but none of us know
Rogue and
but no one knew Jay. They didn't know me. We don't talk during the month ever, which is wonderful. We're just going to come once a month or so and just talk, which is great. So it'll be stilted as all fuck. But I sent a message to Memph for this morning, and it shows like they're pretty hardcore, way more hardcore than me in their gaming. And I sent him a message this morning saying, "Oh, should we look at next week or something?" And he goes, "Yeah, it sounds good. I'm keen, but it'll just be whether I can get the Xbox controller out of my hand or not." And I was like, "Okay, then." That's sort of. But I mean, they're all having crazy months, as you know, Cameron, because of all these short games. There's so many short games at the moment.
There's it's gone past just Zitalon now. There's so
everybody.
many of these other developers that I'm seeing add title updates.
Mhm.
Even some people that are working as community managers trying to get into the 1 Mil Club, adding title updates to their own games. But I'm not going to say who that is, Tony.
That's wonderful.
That's my kind of guy right there. So, but yeah, so check out our other podcasts. You know, we got the Loot Bros Comic Cast is kind of on hold right now. But from what I hear, we might have some PC talk coming soon. I don't know, a little bit of Nintendo love. So just stay tuned. We got some big stuff coming. So we're going to do things a little out of order because Kalai has to run. So we're going to jump into the backlog beatdown first. Kalai, you want to knock that out real quick?
Yeah. If you're new to the podcast or Shadowless, I don't know if you know, we do a event called the Backlog Beatdown. The whole point is to actually play your backlog games and not buy new games.
Why is it every podcast I'm on these days tells me that I have to focus on my backlog? We all know that's never going to recover for me.
They're copying us, man. We've been on this thing for years. All of a sudden, everybody's like, "Hey, this is a good idea. I mean, get off the front log and do the backlog."
Yep, we have a whole entire spreadsheet. It's fantastic. So if you make a game of at least 5 games, you can do more. If you're a masochist, I do not. Once you beat that game on your list, you get a point. If you decide you don't want a game on your list, you can drop it for -1 point. So currently, Ponder Stivens is still at 39. He's up there. Tricky's at 32.
Cheater.
Gareth is at 24. Darrell, you're at 21. Jarrett and Joe is at 18. However, Joe was naughty this week as he posted his next list before even posting the fact that he beat games.
Strike him down. Get him like we did CJ. Make him start over.
I know.
All the way back down to 0.
All the way back to 0.
You're not passing Darrell. Back to 0.
Hey, I'm at a standstill. I made the mistake of putting 2 games on my list to play with my son, my youngest, and he's in this Fortnite tournament for the next 5 days. So like he won't play the games with me. So I got like a lot of games that I've got almost beaten that I'm just like waiting on him so we can finish these freaking long games so then I can start stacking points again.
Look, my little violin here for you, Darrell. I made the mistake of buying Take-Two or something to play with some American Goose, and now it just sits taking up space on my system. So I'm going to play a little violin for us.
You're like, oh, I got an Xbox podcast I got to do. Oh, I got all this work I got to do.
All right. Matthew Muldane is at 15. I'm at 9. CJ is at 8. TTAM is at 8. Homework Gets Stuffed is at 7. Spider Pact is at 6. James is at 5. Noah is at 4. Tbyrd's at 3. Tbyrd, man, you can play some games here, buddy. 42.
I'm just playing new stuff.
I see that. 42J is at 2. Levi's at 2. Rim Ridgeway is at 2. Zoe is at 2. Just Let Me Bang Bro is at 1. Your brother Gangam is at 1.
Everybody, let's take a minute to let him know he sucks. Okay, Gagam, you suck. Straight up, you freaking suck. You let me down, Mister. I'm a big time streamer. I do the shake weights. I show my nipples on my stream, hot tub stream, all that crap. You ain't play no games. Killing me. Your embarrassment.
Zachary Ledford is at 1. Young UKCYM is at 1. I'm Styling Your Bro is at 0. John Smart is at 0. JT is at 0. Mark Lush is at 0. Sid's at 0. And Zach is at 0, who hasn't made a list that he promised to give us. So he also sucks.
He quit coming on the show because he didn't make his list. What a sucker.
All right. And that's the Backlog Beatdown. I'm out of here for tonight, guys. Thank you, everybody. I gotta go.
All right, Kalai, enjoy your show. So, next up with the Backlog Beatdown, we have our custom leaderboards. So you guys know the drill. You go to truetrophies.com, trueachievements.com. join the Loot Bros podcast custom leaderboards, and then each week we will tell you what CJ played to embarrass you. The True Trophies custom leaderboard. You got Affectatious Daunt with 402 trophies. Yeah, the guy who doesn't play PlayStation, but whatever. Second place, we got Resident Darrell with 75, which that's actually over 100 now, but whatever. We got third place with Mr. Lightsight with 25, and he's tied with Tricky Mick for 25. Tricky's actually playing real games and not downloading broken Switch saves, so that's pretty good.
Nice.
And then in the True Achievements leaderboard, which this kind of stuff gets a little embarrassing when you bring on these top dogs like Shadowless and all your Xbox top leaderboard guys. First place, Sony Pony to you with 9,435 achievement points. Cool Kid Joe and 5,300 achievement points. Third place, Resident Darrell with 1,295 achievement points. And then fourth place, we got, hey, I'm styling on your bro with 1,165.
That is a good story. You don't often hear about people escaping the pony box. And there's a man that he bought a PS5. He's hated himself for the last month. I said, why don't you try the Xbox? He borrowed one and he's converted. He loves it. He's getting a Series X when he sets himself up in his new place. And he's at home, finally at home. That's wonderful.
He's
found the light.
So my son just bought himself a PS5, right? And then stole my Xbox.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what happened here? What's going on?
Instant regret.
You should have stepped in there, Darrell. Your job as a parent is to help your children make good decisions. $500 US on a PS5 is not a good decision, my friend.
Well, that's why he bought the digital for $400.
Ugh,
and then he turned around and bought that Crimson Red controller for $75. So nah, he's playing a little bit of Xbox with his cousin. So his cousin can't get a PS5 yet. So he decided to come down from his Sony Pony high horse and play with the common folk on the Xbox.
Excellent.
So, all right, now we're going to head over into community questions. Tbyrd, can you read good this week?
Nope.
Well, we hope so.
Just a second. Just give me
we hope you've been practicing your read good skills.
No.
It's kind of light this week, so you shouldn't have to try too hard.
Was there any on Discord?
No, I didn't see any earlier. I'll check Discord right now, though.
All right. We got Matt G. He asks, Summer Games Done Quick recently finished, raising over $2.9 million for charity. If you were to attempt a speedrun for an event like this, which game would you want to do and why? Extra points for pre-show research to find out world records of chosen games.
Oh, it's a throwback to last week's episode. Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yep. CJ, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm glad because you'll steal it. I would try for the world record in I Am Mayo because I have an incredible wrist action and I'd like to put it to good use.
Everyone's favorite platinum. So, Shadow, you ever done any speed runs?
Well, I'm doing the Halo speed running at the moment to get like under the 3-hour achievements, and all the names of those achievements are basically after like Naked Eli and Pro Ace Joker, who are the speedrunners for those Halo games. So I would have to say probably a Halo game, just because that's where I'm putting the practice in at the moment. Otherwise, maybe something like Banjo-Kazooie, because I've got appreciation for that game being the first game I ever played.
There you go.
How tight is the time for the speed run that you're doing? Like
it depends which game it is. Like Halo 2 is a fucking nightmare. Like my current legendary run for Halo 2 is like 9 hours, and I need to get it under 3.
Oh, wow.
But saying that, we did Halo Reach the other day. Like I did it with a random who's just good at the game, and we got it done first try. So like Reach, ODST, and 3, they seem quite comfortable. 4 is probably not going to be too bad either. 1 and 2 will be fucking nightmares.
Can I ask, do you there's nothing wrong with this. Obviously, I'm sure it's standard practice to get times down, but do you abuse the system by like maybe having a partner hold a checkpoint for you ahead or something like this? Or
Depending
clear the field?
Depending what I do. Like I like to I like to pull off the glitches and that as much as I can
Mm.
because everybody in the like it's not manipulating the game, it's just using what's currently in the game already.
Mm.
Like getting out of barriers, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, like if you have an extra person there, like if you're doing something like lasso, you need the second person because
Yeah.
there is an iron skull that if you die once, you'll get reset to the start of the mission. However, the iron skull will change the requirements if you're doing it in a co-op and just go to the last checkpoint if somebody dies. So, rather than restarting an entire level, you're just restarting to the last checkpoint, which isn't that bad, and you just do the slow crawl.
Would it be fair to say that some of it might be impossible to do solo then? You'd need a second person?
I mean, anything's possible.
Well, yeah, for the normal person.
Yeah, whether you want to put in that time and effort. I mean, but like people said the same thing with gaming, so
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting.
yeah, no, I definitely pick something like that though. Something like there's just enough like open glitches and that kind of stuff in those games that is like learning some of the tips and tricks for it is fun. Like getting your time down like 5 minutes, 10 minutes because you pulled off this insanely hard like out of map glitch, or because those games are pretty damn good like the later that you get on, but like in terms of being structured strong games.
Yep.
Like Halo CE, you're gonna have a lot more opportunities to get out of the map or do these crazy grenade jumps that get you to the very end of the level. Like it's look up Naked Eli on YouTube. Like there is a lot of stuff there. Unfortunately, he doesn't do those kind of videos ever since Halo 5 for his own controversies. But
what was his name? Sorry, I missed that.
Naked Eli. He essentially he left the speed running, I guess, community ever since Microsoft tried to ban him because of his gamer tag. They didn't like the name Naked.
I didn't like Eli.
After he had done every Halo game up until 4, they asked him to change his name, and it's like, no, this is my identity. I built an entire brain around this. Why would I change it?
And that was his name on Xbox. He didn't have something else as well. Just that Naked Eli.
Just Naked Eli. Yeah, he's still got like all the videos up on YouTube, and
yeah.
I definitely recommend checking him out if you're going to do those kind of speed runs.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
But that's my answer.
Tbyrd.
Well, I was going to say Bloodborne.
Mm-hmm.
I just looked it up. The fastest time is 21 minutes and 51 seconds.
Crazy.
Is that using... There's like a glitch at the start for Bloodborne, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's using that glitch.
Yeah.
How do you beat a game like that in 21 minutes, even with a glitch? What, you load in and it takes you right to the end, does it, or something?
Something like that.
You bypass like half the game by doing that. And there's one like in the halfway point it takes you to, you can jump into the boss arena, then you quit out. So those bosses that are in that arena freeze. So you just sit on there and wail on them.
I didn't beat a single boss in that game in 21 minutes, much less the whole game.
I've actually watched people speedrun this game. It's sickening.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, look at this. I'm struggling with this whole game, and they're just beating it casually in 21 minutes.
You know what I'd like to see, Tanner? I reckon you'd be able to do this. I know you were talking about this last week with Corey. There, it came up or whatever. Beating one of those Dark Soul bosses with your feet. I would like to see that. Would you give it a try just for a bit of fun? Have a few beers and get the feet out? Or
I have to figure it out. I had to figure out how to push the buttons, but yeah.
Isn't there somebody on Twitch that does like all different types of like he's done the the GameCube Donkey Kong drum kit, bet the game that way. Somebody's bet the game using a banana controller.
Guitar Hero.
Potatoes.
Guitar Hero, yeah.
It's wild.
I barely beat the game using a controller and 3 people helping me.
Next thing you'll be seeing somebody use a microphone just going up, back, hit.
Yep, dodge.
Just sing.
I think I've seen somebody try to do that.
It's crazy.
That's nuts. So as for me, I've had to do some speed runs with Resident Evil. So typically, I would say, well, whatever next Resident Evil trophy list I'd plan on tackling, probably the Resident Evil 3 remake, Resident Evil 2 remakes. But I actually used to speed run the OG PS1 version of Resident Evil 2 for fun. And I've mentioned this story before on the show, but my brother and I would set them up PS1 on one CRTV and then the Nintendo 64 version. And we would do no save runs, just straight blast through the game, who could beat it first. But the Nintendo 64 cartridge would load so much faster than the PS1, the disc. So I would get stuck at the doors, and have to wait on the load. And my only saving grace was hoping that he died and didn't save so that I could pass him. But I'm not huge on speed runs. I actually, the reason why I don't have all the platinums for Resident Evil games is for that reason. I just get so aggravated. Like I don't find enjoyment off shaving my time and like like learning a game, having to play it so many times that I memorize it so I know where to go, where not to go. I typically get frustrated and move on. So speedruns are not my favorite. Tbyrd, what else we got?
I got to tab back over. Jared writes, "What are your favorite games that involve prison or jail, and why would you prefer that to be your real life rather than living in Australia right now?"
That's right.
Ooh.
That's right.
Ooh.
True.
I'm trying to think.
You went to jail in Uncharted 4.
Yeah.
You went to jail in I didn't play A Way Out, but you start off in jail in that game, don't you?
Yeah, Way Out's a good one.
Yeah, well, actually, it's funny you mention that because I'll throw a little story here. So, Way Out, it's like the Shawshank Redemption of games, isn't it? And back in whenever this was, like 3 years ago, this game came out, something maybe longer in that vicinity. Anyway, had this friend, and this is an interesting story because you're with a lot of people, you just message, you never speak to them. And so this particular person, FM Fab, and I didn't find out till later that this person was like 15 or something else. And we ended up, there's nothing wrong with that, Jared, as you know, you like them young as well, I'm told. But the interesting thing about that game and you'd appreciate this, Darrell, he was homeschooled and he was highly religious. So there is no way in hell, literally, you could find two people on the opposite side of the spectrum. And his mother, I was intrigued to the fact of, he was a really nice kid, but his mother, I was intrigued to the fact of his age because his mother wanted to come onto the chat to meet me to see if I was an upstanding gentleman. She proved that I wasn't and allowed the relationship to continue or whatever else. But the funny thing about that, we're detracting here, Jared, but it happens. The funny thing about that game is if you remember, Darrell, right early on, there's some nudity. The old fella is flapping in the breeze for one of the characters, and he was not allowed to watch that section. So he had to his mother had screened the game for him. I think you've talked about doing this with your kids, and he had to look away for that section. So there you go. Fascinating.
Yeah,
but he's of legal age now, I'm told. So it's all above board.
Yeah, I actually haven't played that one yet, so I didn't know anything about the old.
It's right at the beginning. Yeah, it's very.
I know what to. I know.
Don't you worry.
Close my eyes now.
As soon as Darrell plays it, he's going to take a picture of it and send it to us.
Oh, come on.
Look at this. I got a wiener.
The picture of the pig nuts the other night was a good one.
You managed to find the genitals of anything in every video game, man.
Dude, I thought it was funny. I was hiding. I was doing stealth. Yeah, and there's just a couple old swinging meat bags just kind of right there.
I've got a few good answers for this one now.
All right.
Starting off, Prison Architect.
Okay.
Because I like those kind of management games. Probably a good one. Since let's make the perfect prison. The second one would be the GTA heists in GTA 5. Just because I love playing those kind of multiplayer aspects. In terms of story, I would say Call of Duty Black Ops with Reznov escaping, I think it's Descent from Darkness.
Yeah.
Black Ops is a good one. So I would say Resident Evil Code Veronica. You're stuck on a remote island in prison. There is, much like, Australia, There is a virus raging, much like Australia. And there is a Leonardo DiCaprio lookalike that has two shiny golden guns who slow motion dives out of a window while screaming your name. So, I mean, that sounds pretty interesting to me.
So, that last bit, that's definitely Australian, yeah?
Yeah. Actually, I think all I did was describe Australia. So,
It's so funny you mentioned the GTA, the heists. I'm sure all of us have attempted them in some way or another, but there's no surprise to any of the listeners that when I play a co-op game, I always choose the character that requires the least involvement, maybe rides in the backpack if possible. And so I was playing that, and there's an achievement or trophy for getting through the heist without dying. And I was playing with sort of a serious group, and I'm like, this is a little bit nerve-wracking here because I've had a couple of wines, I can barely see the TV, but we'll be right. And anyway, so we get right through to one of the bank things, and I thought was just enjoying the ride. It was wonderful. And then the hacking mini game started, and it came up, and I said, look, why don't you do this? And he's like, no, you've got to do this. And of course, it was too much for me, and we died. And that ruined that game for me. That's the last time I ever played it, I think. But it's funny. It's funny, those memories, isn't it?
We were.
I've been doing it quite a bit with Matt lately because the servers were closed for 360 in December, so he's just been like, I just need an extra person, so I've joined in, and yeah, those hacking mini games, I like how it just starts you off like with such an easy one in the tutorial, and then it's like when you're doing the actual heist, it's like, all right, cool, we've just bumped the difficulty up to 11 for you, just see how you go.
And especially when they're trying, is it the mastermind achievement or one of those achievements for not dying? And so it's quite like you've got to be a very skilled team. You can't carry someone in the backpack like
I got
a
a first go.
Yeah, well, you're a skilled gamer. You're a hall of gamers.
But Neo got so frustrated because Neo is like, all right, like you definitely got hit. I'm like, no, I didn't. He's like, well, I didn't get hit. I'm just like, well, why did I get the achievements then and not you? But
yeah, they're hard achievements.
I tried playing that game online at launch, and that first 30 days it was destroyed and broken, and I never went back. So I keep saying I'm going to, but
they're a lot of fun if you're with a casual group, like if you're just for fun. But yeah, it's quite intense if it's not.
We should put a Loot Bros group together and just go cause mayhem in GTA. I'll even
really detracting here, but have you heard about this? Is like it's like GTA related. I was listening to this podcast the other day. It was a little older one, and they were talking about like, I think it was in GTA because I can't think of any other game like it. And they actually play. It's on PC. They do this, and they all have characters, and they actually like characters have occupations, and it's like role playing. So it's not just like you're the guy in the game. You're like you could be a banker. So you have like a sheet they send you, which is like your backstory, and you've got to act in character when you meet other people in the game. Have you heard about this or?
Yeah, the GTA role playing.
Yes, yeah, it's a real thing, isn't it? It's crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
Dude, have you heard about the motorcycle group that meets up and they ride together? And it's like an actual like a biker gang, but they only ride on GTA.
Yeah, it's just the same sort of thing. Yeah. And then
it's
people, as they would, get in there and fuck with them, but that's awesome.
Well, nobody's game enough to, call out a hit on a bikie gang in real life. Why not just do it in GTA?
There you go.
I tell you what, though, the chat in GTA, because it's that open chat, and you got your 13-year-old banging his sister in the corner, and the mother's like, go for it, son, and all this sort of stuff's going on. It's
keeping the good old days of the 360 and the PS3 alive.
Yeah.
That was the first game I'd ever played multiplayer, and being a mature gentleman at that stage, I was shocked. I thought this is wonderful that this goes on. I'm sure I heard a gun go off a couple of times, a real gun. In the background. What do they call it? Testy pop or whatever? It's great.
Yeah. Old desk pop.
Desk pop, that's it. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So that's the end of community questions. It was a light week this week. Appreciate you guys writing in. This week's official topic is one we've been trying to do for a while. We've been trying to get together. We've added CJ to the panel. We've added Kalai and Joe, and it just seems to work itself out to where every time we decide to get to know our new host a little better and talk about our favorite games of all time, they manage to bail, which just tells me that they are not real gamers. They actually don't like games. So CJ, we got you. Shadow, we got you. So we're gonna do what we're gonna do is we're gonna go around the table and each person just name one of your, maybe we'll do 3, maybe we'll do 5, maybe we'll do 30. Who knows? Just one of your favorite games of all time. Doesn't have to be your most favorite. It can be a recent game that you played that just has a lasting impression. But Shadow, we'll start with you. What is just one of the games that you would consider one of your favorite games of all time?
I never would have thought about it going into it, but Forza Horizon 4.
Okay.
Like absolutely and it might just be the community aspect of it too, that everybody seems that I'm good at races, and I like to think that I'm more better at FPS, but like the whole community around RGS at the time and now Hall of Gamers, it's just like, well, you're getting the full completions in Forza Horizon, like you're definitely like a lot better at this. And I hear people complaining about I'm not sure how many of you are aware of the Battle Royale mode in Forza Horizon 4 called the Eliminator.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody to me like says that's the worst achievement and all that. I'm like, I got this in like the first few days. It wasn't hard. I don't see what people's problem with it. But just knowing, like, having played for the series now, going from 1, 2, 3, 4, seeing how well they're advanced, seeing how good 5 looks, and how keen I am for it to come out in November, I would definitely say they're the prettiest and like most arcadey laid back kind of fun races out on the market today.
You're a very modest gentleman there, as you can tell, listeners. But I want to pull you up on something there, sir, because I'm pretty sure it was you. I asked about that achievement, and your tip at the time was, well, you just play it, just keep playing it over and over, and just keep going for one corner, and eventually you'll luck box enough wins to get it. And I thought, that really is a skillful approach to this mode, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. Like, you get to like the last, because how it works is essentially you'll have stages where you'll find somebody and you challenge them to a race, and you got to get to this point better than them, and that's how you eliminate them. And then when you get to the final 10 players out of, I think it's like 60 starting off or something along those lines, you'll have the final 10 all race to that finish line. But if you already know that you're going to just about go into that race, it's like, all right, I've got a 50-50 chance. Am I going to just drive directly out in this direction and get a massive head start? Or am I going to shoot myself in the foot? Eventually you're going to get to a point where you luck out and go, all right, well, there's no way I could lose this because everybody else hasn't even considered moving off the starting line. It's not going to penalize you, or at least it wasn't at the time. I don't know if they've changed how it works now, but that's how I got my achievement so early. And there is one that's essentially win the Eliminator using a starting car, because you'll have drops like how these other battle royales work, like having drops to upgrade your cars and that kind of stuff. I didn't find it difficult, but I know that all the achievement communities that I'm in, it's the thing that game gets groaned about. Like, why is this a feature? But I'm glad. Like, I hear they're bringing it back for 5, so I'm excited.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you just before we move on, because I never asked you this, I suppose, and it's doesn't I don't worry about it so much anymore because I don't care. But back when I was playing a lot of PlayStation and races, I did care, and quite often you'd buy the game or you try and get access to the game as soon as possible because of online modes where they're skill dependent. So I'm thinking like this is a perfect example. Like people would get better at this mode, or Dirt Rally 2.0, and both Dirt Rallies were a great example. And they had the blind stage, and the longer you left that, like today, that would be a bloody tough trophy because the only people left playing it are really good, and the top 25% get it in a month or whatever else. It's a very small pool, but
See,
is that in the back of your mind, like when you see trophies like this or achievements, that you need to get them early?
Not particularly. Like, to me, it's more so chasing server closures than it is anything else. I'm not concerned about my skill level compared to somebody else, purely because I know that my mindset in gaming is I'm that individual that will go up against the brick wall over and over again until I finally get it. It's very rare occasions that I get frustrated with gaming, and it's usually because I feel cheated because there's been a game breaking glitch, or I've had to reset progress or something along those lines. But there's very rarely a time where I'm I'll constantly die on a roguelike and it's how the game plays. It might be a little bit frustrating, but I'm not going to go break a controller, quit gaming, get toss in the completion because of it. I'm going to keep on. I'm either going to go to another game for like 5-10 minutes to give myself a little bit of a break, or I'm just going to keep on going until I make progress, which is usually what happens.
Yeah. I don't know if you see a lot of that in the Xbox community, but it was really big in the PlayStation community with the hardcore, especially with the MXGP games, because they had that MXGP Pro, which ended up being a broken trophy and achievement where you had to finish on the top of your friend's leaderboard, but in reality it didn't upload friends, so it became the top 50 in the world, which is almost impossible today to do, and they keep that trophy coming, and they've been better since then. But I know a lot of people worry about that.
I've never been a fan of the like the leaderboard approach to achievement hunting. I personally, I don't find achievement hunting fun when you're getting pitted against the progress of other players.
Yeah.
I feel like in terms of achievement hunting, in terms of achievement hunting, you should always be pitted against yourself. You should always be looking at self-improvement rather than what's this other person doing. And that could be said with anything in life. You're not going to get anywhere in life by just copying the work of others or setting yourself against the standards of other people. You've got to work on your own self-improvement.
There you go. It's for Loot Bros words of wisdom right there. So, all right, CJ.
Well, I'll go the opposite. Yeah, the opposite end of the spectrum. Not a modern game. It's the first game I remember playing back in the dark ages on the family PC. So I must have been like 8 in that vicinity, 8 to 10 or something. And so we had no computers. My parents didn't believe in any of that sort of stuff. But my dad got one for work, and it's wonderful, Tanner. Like, I remember the hard drive had 40 megabytes. That was it. It's amazing how far we've come or whatever else. And it was a text-based game called Taipan. It was a trading game. You traded in like a ship trading thing, but all text, of course, with China and different countries and your wool and all that. And I really loved that game. And of course, like, it probably was warrant to happen back then, but I didn't know computers died or whatever else, and we lost the game. Like, I don't know how it got on the computer, but it was there somehow and it was gone forever. And like, I thought it was always nostalgia, because so a long time ago playing that game. And the funniest thing is I didn't find out this for years, but they actually ported the game to iOS and maybe on other systems now, so you can actually play it on your iPad, and it's the original, and it's like no one would like it today because it's rough as guts, a game from the 80s. But I play it occasionally now, and I know it's tied up in nostalgia, but it's just that core mechanic in that game. And I know it's not graphics, it's a blue screen, but that core mechanic of trading and seeing your resources sort of go up, and there's a bit of randomness. If the ship sinks, you lose stuff. So it's always always things going on, and that's the mechanic that I think, even though the games we play today, they're amazing, whiz bang and all this sort of stuff. It's aging me that phrase, but that core mechanic of the trading of the things going up in increments and the slight risk as well. It's the same sort of games I play today, I think. So I think I owe a lot to that particular game for myself. Taipan.
Awesome. So Tbyrd.
Definitely one of my favorites of all time is Pokemon Silver.
Okay.
It wasn't the one that got me into Pokemon, but obviously I started with Pokemon Red. Pokemon Silver was just the continuation and just making everything so much better. Basically, you had 2 games in one with that one, just because you had the new region, and once you beat that one, you go back to the other region from where the first one started.
Sweet.
Plus, I think that was one of my very first RPGs, so it got me hooked on that ever since.
And you played that on a Game Boy, or was that on console?
Oh yeah, the Game Boy.
Color?
I think, yeah. I think Color was the one for them. I didn't have the Color. I had the big brick one.
How many batteries you reckon it took to finish that game?
Too many. Probably more than the entire system cost.
Those were the original microtransactions.
Batteries.
is true.
Duracell and Energizer. So I know. So you guys have been listening to the show for any amount of time. You've heard me say Resident Evil 2 favorite game of all time. So I'm not going to mention any Resident Evil games, nor will I mention Dying Light tonight.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I actually went just kind of.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say Dying Light's a good one.
Oh, I love that game, dude. Oh, one of my favorites. But that's not what I'm here to talk about tonight. I actually was thinking, like, what games really dig up some of the fondest memories from, previous generations. And one that I think about all the time and have been actually on the prowl looking for. I could order it on eBay, but I've been trying to find it in the wild just because I get really excited when I find a game in the wild, And it would be Psyops. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Psyops.
Yeah.
But it was a PlayStation 2 OG Xbox game, and it was a third-person shooter, very similar to like your not SOCOM. What's the ones that the Sony Ben made, the Siphon Filter? But you had telekinesis powers, and you could pick people up with your left hand, like have them hovering in the air, and then have like a machine gun or a pistol or something in your hand, and then shoot them with the gun in your right hand. And I just thought that was so cool. This is before your Star Wars games and, where you had your Jedi powers and stuff. It was such a phenomenal game. And I remember playing it and having such a blast and just being blown away that the physics would work that way. And to this day, I would say the closest thing to it would be Control, where the physics and picking people up with your telekinesis power and launching them across the map and things. So it was a very, very, very interesting game, and a game that I would love to see brought, in a remaster, remake, to modern console. Realistically, if I revisit it now, it might not be that as good, but at the time, it was one of my all-time favorites. Shadow, you're up.
Going back to nostalgia, Age of Empires 2. That was the first PC game I ever played, and RTSs, they're just a massive time sink.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so fortunate that all the games actually coming back to like they're actually getting put in PC Game Pass at the moment, because 3 just had a DLC pack added the other day, and 4's coming out in October, and 2's still getting more content added to it. Which is crazy to think that a game that from 20, I don't know what year it released, but like 20 something years ago from my childhood, that I spent countless hours in front of the computer. Like, not many people know that I used to want to be an archaeologist growing up. And then I tried to get in, like, I did a little bit more research, and trying to get in archaeology as an Australian is hard. It's one of those just contract-based jobs, and it's just like, all right, cool. Probably not going to do this end of the day. I'll just enjoy the history and that through these games.
Awesome. All right, CJ.
Yeah, well, I'll come more modern then, I suppose. And for me, like being predominantly a single player gamer and having played so many Japanese RPGs or whatever else, and of all qualities, some better than others, of course, ironically finding the Final Fantasy series, because it was one of the last ones that I found, and actually working backwards through it and then never really getting past 14, but starting with 15 and then 14. I thought those games, like I really love 15, and I know that's there's not many people that would agree with that or whatever else, but when you'd never played any of the early Final Fantasy games, you didn't know what they were like. You didn't experience the turn-based, so you had no point of reference. So I thought that was a wonderful Japanese Assassin's Creed, which is exactly what it is. And I really enjoyed that. And then moving through 14 just obviously blew my mind with MMOs. And I've said before that when I started playing it, I was told at the time to be careful because some people live their better lives in an MMO, and it's very true. Like the amount of knowledge they have and the depth of those games is amazing. And I think I understand why people avoid them because they are time sinks, but I think, if you're I don't, I'm not going to say a proper gamer or a real gamer because that's ridiculous, but I think it's a real shame if you game, for a good period of time or your life and you never find an MMO to invest in because they're a long-term game. They're a game that you'll play over years. And, we've talked about before, like this continual push to keep releasing a new game with a new world when really they should just stick with these worlds and just build them out would be so much, better for us older gamers that don't have time to learn all new systems. And that's why, an MMO is amazing. But then to move to 12 that I did the other year, Final Fantasy 12, and to start to see some of the older games, and the way they were made and working in zones and the frustrations of random drops, which I'd always avoided. But, thanks to Zador, he made me, well, he didn't make me, but he encouraged me to platinum that game. And then also within that game, amazing like RNG calculations people had worked out to get certain drops and things you did and places you stand. And while I didn't do that myself, I watched some of that and I thought it was amazing the effort people had put in to look at the source code and run generators, number generators to work all that out. So just
It's
the
amazing
depth.
how
Mm.
diverse all of them are too. Like 12 was the
Yeah.
reason I went out and bought a PS4.
Yes, yeah. It's an amazing game. The concurrences, I don't know if you remember that. Not so not so fun. That trophy was a nightmare doing that. But the game amazing. Yeah, and I think like we talk a little bit about trophies or achievements, and there's always both sides of the fence, but that list for that game, and I assume it's the same list on Xbox as well, requirements, it's a really good trophy or achievement list. Yes, it's going to take you like 150 to 200 hours to do, but it's a perfect example of blending story, side quests, there's hunting boards. It gives you a little bit of RNG. There definitely is RNG. It's going to make you, really understand how the game works because you have to hit certain areas at certain times of the day. So the depth in that list, I think, is wonderful. And if you haven't played it and you just play it for the story, that's awesome. But if you like a real challenge, and nothing in that is too difficult, with the exception of the concurrence, which is very cheap and dependent on your reaction times. But a different, aside from that, I think it's probably 12 is one of the best JRPG lists. Perhaps it's been surpassed, Darrell, by, and this will shock the ponies, the PS5 Final Fantasy 14 list, which they put a new list out, which is amazing. It's a real tribute to proper MMO gaming, with 3,000 fates and massive requirements, not these small requirements of the PS4 version, which is how it should be for a game of that thing. So that whole series, but particularly 15, 14, and 12 for me are probably the core, maybe the best games that I've played across systems.
Have you experienced 10?
Yeah, I've played a little bit. I really haven't got into it yet. So that would be my next. I only do one a year.
10, I remember like when I was, I would have been like, I think 11, 12, borrowing it from a video store, and just the starting for that game.
Yeah.
Just the Otherworld song is just amazing. The cutscenes on a PS2 back then were amazing. Like it was just it just blew me out of the water to what was achievable in terms of gaming.
Yeah, it was impressive, man. I'm actually just recently started that over on my Vita, and I'm sad to say that this week I lost I had a Vita memory card die, and I lost lots of minutes of that game. But I remember playing that one on PS2, man. That was a good one.
Amazing story too.
So, I'm excited.
Yes, it was.
Unfortunately, I don't feel the same about X2, but that's a different story.
Everyone says that.
I don't think I ever played X2, so I wanted to go back through 10 to then play 10.
Not many people did.
So, Tbyrd, you're up.
Actually, I'll go with that. Final Fantasy X was one of my favorite RPGs I've ever played.
Didn't you buy a PS2 and play back through that not too long ago?
Did I?
I
think so.
Years,
yeah,
I don't remember.
That's been a few years ago. I think that's a catalyst that wanting to redo it, but then they're like, "Oh, look, it's on the PS4 now." Yeah, but no, that was actually my first Final Fantasy game I've ever played, and it got me hooked on RPGs ever since. Or it was that and Pokemon really helped me like fall in love with RPG games like that. Now that everything's going like, what would you call it? More free roaming or whatever you can in RPGs instead
Like
of
not
the whole
turn-based
turn based.
compared to, yeah, swap from
Yeah,
turn-based to like the open or combat systems.
yeah. I haven't gone back and actually played an old turn-based game like this in a while. I need to do it.
Yeah. Kind of keeping along that theme of RPGs, since that's where we're at. One of the other games I wanted to mention was Parasite Eve. So I know I've talked about it on the show before, but that's like a Resident Evil meets Final Fantasy, turn-based, random encounters, but very very beautiful pre-rendered backgrounds. Just a very interesting game that has horror elements, but yet that Final Fantasy, battle system. And I just remember as a kid playing that on PS1 and just being just blown away. And I can't remember which one I played first, Final Fantasy VII or Parasite Eve, but I remember playing them both at a very similar time. And those are just some of the best games with amazing stories. And I just really, really enjoyed them. And I really would love a modern Parasite Eve, or since we're living in the era of remakes, remasters, or even just a modern, just let me play it on a modern console, But not that old Jimmy Ryan will ever let me do that, but I just would love to be able to revisit that one. They believe in generations. Yep. For now, I guess. Or no, they don't anymore. So I don't know. They believe in the PS4 generation. So, but man, I would love to play that again. You just talking about like just that old era of Final Fantasy games and just getting into RPGs. And again, I don't remember which was my first, Final Fantasy VII or Parasite Eve, but those were the first RPGs I had ever experienced, and the first turn-based RPGs. And they were just mind blowing. I just thought they were awesome, and the fact there were multiple discs, it was like there's so much game, so it was very very enjoyable. So extremely fond memories of those.
It's a real shame that, like, I know Cameron's played a bit of Yakuza 7, and they implemented a turn based of sorts, and it's the future of turn based. And like I've been thinking about it a lot, and like your old school turn based, like everything sort of stops, like your Dragon's Quest, and you can plan out what you want to do, and moving doesn't necessarily affect anything, where you are on the board. Or whatever else. And so there's a lot of strategy potentially that comes into play. Leveling comes into play. And then you get this modern take on turn-based, which is in Yakuza 7, which is awesome. Don't get me wrong, but you can move around. You've got all this shit going on. There's so much there to keep you like engaged. And I wonder if like that's the future of turn-based, because we're older gamers, so we played these static games. So perhaps we gravitate to that style of combat, and it's easier as you get older too, definitely. But when you come through and you're playing like your Call of Duties and your Fortnites and all this, you're not going to want to sit there and wait for the computer to have a go. Like, I'm not waiting for you, and that sort of stuff. So turn-based, it's, and it's becoming so close to like a hack and slash turn-based as well. Like, I mean, what's like that Scarlet Nexus, which I know is a hack and slash, but it's like, it's got a lot of things going on strategy wise, but that could have been a really good turn-based game, I think. But instead, they went the hack and slash route over the top, and it's just interesting how that style's changing. And I wonder, like in 10 years, when we talk about turn-based, that's what it will be. It's not that it stops at all, it's just that it's all on the fly sort of thing. It's a shame.
So something I've been trying to do with my kids is I've been picking games to like revisit, and basically what I've had to do is I kind of have to disassociate from all modern gaming to make it happen. So what we've been doing is we did like last weekend, we did like a retro party where we just like went to my brother's house and set up retro consoles and played old games. Cause I'm like, there are some games out there you need to experience. But if I plug this up beside your PlayStation 5 or your Xbox or your PS4, it's like you're going to be distracted. We need to like completely get away from it. And same thing goes for like some nights I'll be like, all right, we're going to set up a retro console in a different room, and we're all going to pass the controller and play. And I found that my kids, they are that Fortnite generation. They're that instant gratification. Like, I don't have time to wait, and but they've made some time for this stuff, and they've got to experience some of them. And then
Yeah.
I found some kind of modern versions of these things. So like one of the things my kids I started them out real early was a Angry Birds had a turn-based RPG game on the it might have been on iOS and Android, but we played it on the Fire tablet, and it was a Angry Birds, turn-based RPG. And dude, my kids played the fool out of it, and it was just one of those games that I was like, man, we're going to invest in this just because it gives them that old style, and I don't want them to be the kids that are like, oh, I can't play nothing but Call of Duty and Fortnite. So it's
I'd be
very
interested
interesting.
in your opinion, Tanner, because just going back to that Scarlet Nexus, because my one gripe with that game is it feels like I'm in a casino when I play it, and like in the back of my mind, it's like you wouldn't want to be epileptic in this game. And I know it's as anime as all fuck, but there's so much like flashing lights and the moving and all this stuff. It's so over the top. And I just find that a massive detraction. And I know you play some anime games, sir. Do you find that, or do you like all of that?
I understand it being a lot to take in at once, but some of the, like
That's what she said.
I don't mind it, but I can see how it would be annoying. But
Yeah, it's not so
I
much
don't
the
know.
systems. It's just, like the finishing move and the color is flashing. It's like being in a casino, that game. It's crazy.
Yeah,
And which it's not a bad thing. And like I know aging yourself by saying that, but I was just like, God, there's so much going on. It almost detracts from the game. But I suppose that's where we're heading.
I mean, basically, the way I
yeah.
see it is if you're not having a seizure while playing a game, did you even play the game?
That's right. Right. Where did those 4 hours go? Ah.
So, all right, who's next? I don't even know where we're at anymore. I think it's
Cameron.
Shadow's turn.
I'm just trying to think of another one. Going along the theme, I guess, of Final Fantasy Kingdom Hearts 2 is one of my favorites.
It's a good one.
I've been to the point that I played through recently and did a critical mode on my first go. Never would have attempted that when I was a younger kid, and just being able to go through and enjoy the games again for what they are. Actually, having I had my daughter last weekend, and I was trying to find something that was going to be like a good game for both of us, and just having something with Mickey, Donald, and Goofy. It's so easy just to get her, like, give her an unplugged controller and be like, yeah, let's play Kingdom Hearts together. Just for that aspect.
Every parent has done that trick.
She's at that age though, like she's only 2, but she knows that a light means the controller is on.
Yep.
So it's like, oh yeah, let me turn this on for you, and then quickly just take a battery out, try and keep her still for like 15 minutes when she sees Mickey on the screen, and then it's like, oh no, let's run off.
Backseat game.
I did that, man. I did that with all 3 of my kids, and my third one, he picked up the easiest. He's like, dude, that's not right. This isn't doing what I'm doing. This isn't right.
I can't wait till she's at that age though, that we can actually start co-oping games together.
Oh man, it is the best, dude. It's like having like 3 kids, man, and like at any given time, I'm like, hey, I need someone to boost this with me, or I just want to have someone to play this game with me. Like it is playing games with your kids is the best.
Definitely.
So, CJ.
Yeah, probably my last one. I think it's so funny, like gaming, and the last 3 weeks previous to this week, I had off, and so you couldn't go anywhere anyway. So I got a stack of gaming in, and then a little way more than normal this week, and I imagine it's going to be like this now for a month or so going forward. And one of the things I always notice, and I know it's a trap, and Cameron, you probably see this as well. It's a trap when you mix with people that game a lot, like are really hardcore gamers, and they're getting through all these games, and like they say, yeah, I finished this last night. Like I had a guy messaged me this morning. He'd just finished the Annapurna Active Last Stop, which was only out like yesterday, and it's not like a 2-hour game. It takes a while, and he goes, "I finished it. What did you think?" And I'm like, "Shit, I haven't even started." And and then someone else has finished this, and because they're gaming a lot or whatever else, finishing a lot, I always get this in the back of my mind that I'm not really getting through anything, which is such a weird thing because I spend hours and I've played so much or whatever else, but I think part of that is tied up in the games like this next series that I really like, and I know it's going a direction that a lot of people don't like. and it's the Assassin's Creed series, the last three in particular, the Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. And problem is when you play games like this that are 100+ hours, you don't make a lot of progress. Like you can spend 30 hours and you're not going to finish it, and 30 hours you can finish most other games. Well, a lot of games. So
it's funny that you mentioned those games. Me and Matt have like a second Patreon exclusive podcast that we're doing called Lights, Camera, and Action, where we basically cover like a video game movie, and we decided to do Assassin's Creed at the moment.
Wow.
It's interesting to see ever since that 2016 release how those games have changed to be these open world RPGs rather than your traditional stealth combat kind of Assassin's Creed that we know and love. And it's very interesting. Like, have you seen that movie at all?
No, I haven't.
I've seen
It's
it.
not good, is it?
Like it's it's typical, like your Doom and your average video game movie. It's acceptable, but it's not going to be like a world changer kind of, 10 out of 10 top class kind of movie. But they wanted to experiment with different like levels of combat in it other than just doing the whole hidden blades thing. And just how that has progressed throughout the series, and they've taken from the movie rather than and created their own thing. And I've loved the new games. Like Odyssey particularly is like I'm a massive fan of Greek mythology, even to the point that my daughter is named after a Greek goddess. But and obviously archaeology background. But like it's just so interesting to see how those games have progressed throughout the years.
Well, hugely from the original ones. I mean, they're nothing like it, and I know that's why a lot of people have problems with them. But what I like about, like, what I'm always looking for is a game that you can get sucked into, and for a long period of time. And I know you can with your shooters and your multiplayer games, but I'm not, as a single player gamer predominantly. You've got to look at the longer games because you're not going to play the same 20-hour game over and over. Well, you might, but it's less likely to over and over again. So you want a big game, and I always find, particularly with the last three Assassins, the draw with ESO is that like takes a good 20 hours to get into it. In fact, I might actively hate the game for 20 hours, but I'll push through, and then I really, really like it. And then those games are wonderful because there is so much content, and Valhalla in particular is basically an MMO for one person, in the size of the world. And I know that they're moving to this, free to play model, which, a lot of people don't like or whatever. And you could argue in a way it's already been like that because there's a lot of microtransactions in those games, even though you buy them, which you don't have to engage with, but a lot of people do. Costumes.
Based off the look of XDefiant, I don't have high hopes for whatever this open world Assassin's Creed is going to be.
No. Well, it's going to be. It's a bit like the game they had to push, which was a shame. Their sports one, which is a bit of a mashup of the Crew 2 and Steep. I forget what it's called. Riders Republic. But that sort of, and then it comes back to Division and Division 2. That sort of, I really like that style of game because they're going to keep supporting it. UB do with those games. I played Ghost Recon Breakpoint. It's a great game, only because of all the stuff they put in it. I remember getting that day one. It was a piece of shit. Much better game now. And there are a company that will continue to support it. They can afford to. And so when you're investing your 50, your 60, your 100 hours, that there is going to be content there. There's going to be end game. Maybe if you don't like it, then you wouldn't do that style of game. But if you do, it's like a drug that's just slowly dripping. And one of the worst things, it's the same with a book or a good, not so much a movie, but a good game is you've really enjoyed it when you don't want it to end. And so you start doing things because you just want to keep it going. And those games they're like a crack in that respect, that they just keep you going, and there's enough to do as well, which I think is wonderful.
That makes me ask you then, have you played Immortals Phoenix Rising?
Yeah, I have. Tanner's finished that, haven't you?
Yeah, I finished it.
Yeah.
How did you
I
find
did
it?
that. I liked it. It's not as fun as an Assassin's Creed game, but it was okay.
Okay. It's just interesting to hear like different perspectives on it, because I've heard some of them just like it's Assassin's Creed Odyssey in a baby form, but that's what I like about it.
I did not like that game. I tried to like it. I wanted to like it, but it was.
How much time did you put into it?
An hour
10 minutes?
Yeah, it's a game you got to put a good 5 hours into at least before it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a baby. The puzzles in that
Like
game are much
you know
harder
what I
than
mean though. Like
Assassin.
it's
Yeah,
a
very Zelda looking.
yeah, it's very Breath of the Wild in its appearance.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good example that a lot of people will not actively like. You talk to a gamer and they're like, I'm not going to play a 100-hour game, and even some of the hardcore gamers I know are not trophy or achievement hunters. They're not going to play that a length of that game at the outset, but they will play something like that because it's like a 20 to 30-hour experience. Whereas if they will put 100 hours into something, but they won't actively go out and seek it. So those sort of games like that Immortal Phoenix, it's much more self-contained. The map is smaller than Assassins. The mechanics, once you understand them, are the same. So yeah, it's much
Streamlined kind of experience.
yeah, because like I was looking at it, the majority length of games people will play are 20 to 30 hours. Anything over that, and you're becoming like a freak, or whatever sort of thing, because they're so long. So I think there's a definite market for those games. I'm just really happy that those last 3 Assassins have not gone into that market. I'm glad that they're pushing the bigger end of the game and catering for. Like I couldn't imagine starting Valhalla if you were used to playing a 20-hour game. There's just no way you could handle
That's
that game.
why my
So,
copy's still on the wrapper.
Yeah, because it's like after hour 50, you're like, all right, when's this game gonna wrap up?
it's right, just keeps going. But yeah, but that's why I like it.
All right, Tbyrd.
Cheating. I'm putting them. Say the Mass Effect trilogy.
You cheater.
Yeah,
Well,
my list.
technically,
I'm
the
cheating.
legendary
So suck it.
the legendary whatchamacallit? The legendary edition
Legendary
is
edition.
yeah. So,
Yeah, those games are just that's something. There's something else. It's like the peak of, at least in my opinion, that's the peak of sci-fi fiction out of any video game I've played.
Yeah.
I've never cared about fictional characters or made-up characters than I have with my whole crew. Because if you mess up, certain people die, or you can turn them against you, and it's wild. I know CJ, have you gone back and played anymore?
Yeah, I finished the first one. So I haven't started the second one yet. It's funny you mention that because like the old schoolness of that game, but I I didn't realize like playing through, and I'm sure probably at the very end it gave you a point of no return. I'm not sure if it did or not. It probably did. Most games do, but
I think it does.
yeah, that the problem with that game is I got into the story and I started following the story beats, and I could see there were other things. I was like, I'll do that later, and then the game finished. And I'm so used to playing modern big games that I assumed you could keep playing after the story finishes. But I'm pretty sure with that game, oh no, you go back to before the final fight. I think that's how it works, isn't
Yeah.
it, or something? Yeah, which
Yeah, you still have
wasn't what I
chances
was
to do all the side quests.
yeah, you should really do them before you get there, which I realized,
Yeah.
realized later to fill out the story. And the only other thing I thought is that I didn't know, and I mean, it's such an old game, it's not a spoiler, I suppose, but that reptilian dude or whatever else, the option to save him and stuff, I didn't realize that was what was going on. But that's more on me, I think, than that. So
Oh, I completely forgot about that part.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, but I do like the idea of being able to carry your save over for 3. And I think like as a detraction from that, I think that's really wonderful because that's a series I would never have played on PS3. I've never set up a PS3 and go back and play Mass Effect. But now that it's come to modern consoles, I'll play it. And another really good one, Darrell, I know we've all played it, the Dead Space series, but EA finally confirming they're going to do that. I think it's wonderful because there's probably a lot of people that won't pick up a PS3 and Xbox is there or whatever, but PS3 to play it. So I think that's exciting.
Yep. That's a good one too, man. I was perusing through your trophies, and I saw that you platinum Dead Space. That is incredible.
There's a funny story about that. Do you want to hear it? Or have I gone on enough?
So go ahead.
Back when I started getting into trophy hunting or whatever else, I used to play a lot with this American guy to start with. And so I didn't know the whole trophy hunting thing. And he wasn't like, he was into finishing big games, not big scores or whatever else. And he set up this event. So back on Profiles, this was just when trophy sort of events were starting. And it was a game a month. You had to play a game a month. And it was a race to see who could finish the game the quickest. And so they were all sort of games. They weren't like, 1 hour games. They were all these sort of slightly longer games and a bit skill based. There's a little skill in Dead Space. with that hard run or whatever else. And there's this one guy, his name was Salty, he went under, and he was like a gaming god. He could do any game, and he'd win every month. And I think I had like a window of a week off. And so I made a bet with him for $100 or something that I could finish Dead Space before he could. And I'd never played the game before, and he's like, "You've got no chance of finishing the hard mode or whatever else." And I did. I played the game. I don't know what my time was. It's not one of the world's fastest, but for me, it was fast. It was it's definitely under 20 hours. I know that. I'm pretty sure it was because we did it in one or two sittings, and it would have been even quicker. But I don't know how well you know the game. There's a section where it's like an asteroid section where you have to
Yep.
shoot. There's a trophy tied to that. It's a bullshit trophy, and it's a little
Yep.
luck based as well. And I'd finished everything else. I had a save there, and I couldn't get that friggin' trophy. And I knew his time was coming up. I had 2 hours to get inside him or whatever else. And I sat there, and I finally got it. I was probably blasted as well by the end of it because I was drinking. I was having a great time with it, and I got him by a few minutes or whatever. And I'll never forget because I'd only just starting in trophy hunting, and he sent me this message because he had a ton of platinums, all the hard games. Because, well done. He goes, I could never have beaten that game in that thing. That fucking asteroid thing just pissed me off too much. And I was like, it's so funny. Like, we're on he was English, opposite sides of the world, or whatever else, trying to outdo each other, two old guys on this game, and it was wonderful. But a wonderful way. And it was good, that competition, because I would never have probably pushed myself through the hard mode without it. And
Yeah.
it's worth doing.
The asteroid trophy deterred me from even going for the platinum. It was
Yes.
so I tried it. I tried it
Bullshit.
on 360. And I was like, no, this sucks. I'm not doing this.
It's just luck based, yeah.
Well, I'm unlucky, so there's that.
Oh, so was I for like 4 hours. But it's so funny hearing Cameron say, like, he just sits there and just balls through it, and eventually it happens. And that sort of gaming has gone past me. I won't do that anymore. So if I can't get it,
I'm persistent little prick.
yeah. I don't know. It's that argument of like, should Dark Souls get an easy mode? Yes, because I'm not going to sit there and try and figure it out.
So I guess that's me. I'm gonna pull up the rear with the last one. And this one is, I'm gonna tie into my story from earlier doing the retro console days. So my brother and I just picked up a Nintendo 64 recently with a stack of games, and my brother's got a large collection of Nintendo 64 games. And so we grabbed my kids. We went over to his house last weekend, and we said, all right, we're going to play GoldenEye, we're going to play Smash, and we're going to play the greatest wrestling game ever made, WWF No Mercy. And oh my gosh, we had such a freaking blast. It was me, my brother, and my two boys. My daughter went shopping with my wife and my sister-in-law. And we each got a controller. We paired off in teams. It was me and my oldest versus my brother and my youngest. And we went to war on a tag team ladder match. And my brother and I have always been very competitive against each other when it comes to gaming. We were very competitive against each other in the early days of achievement hunting. And, we do things now on the stock market where, like, I'll buy stock in something, and I'll send him a screenshot like, hey, this looks like it's going to be pretty promising. I bought 100 shares. That joker will send me a picture back. Yeah, I just bought 101 just for the sake of doing it, just to one up me. And so we've always been, been competitive. So the biggest thing is, if you can
hit
hit
this
your
story
finish,
working around to the fact that you sold your Bitcoin before I did, and you did really well, and the rest of us didn't.
No. I am
That's where we were
losing
headed.
horribly at the stock market right now, so don't take any financial advice from me. But we were playing No Mercy, and there's always been this big rivalry. We're like, if you can hit your finish, because we're both pretty decent at reversing each other, and if I know he's got his special built up, he's getting ready to hit me with the finish, I'm gonna be really on my toes to hit that reversal. So we're going back and forth, reverse. We're hitting each other with ladders, chairs, throwing each other off of everything. And then he hits me with his finisher. And I'm like, it's over. He's going to win. Well, we're going back and forth. I managed to get kind of back in the game. And my son is at the top of the ladder getting ready to grab the briefcase. My youngest son can't figure out how to knock the ladder down all of a sudden. So my brother takes his eyes off me for just 1 second. I pop him with the Stone Cold Stunner, clothesline my son, my oldest, gets the briefcase, and we win. And I kid you not, we were all hoarse for 2 days because there was so much screaming and yelling and trash talk going on. And it was just like, it brought me back to like the days when we were kids and we were screaming at the TV and yelling and getting in trouble because after we beat each other in a wrestling match, then we started wrestling in real life. And it's just, that game is so fun and it's so easy to play. It's so accessible. It is old school arcadey fun. And man, I was sitting back there playing it. We played for hours and I'm like, the games are not this good anymore. Like modern day wrestling games, especially, are just not this fun. So WWF No Mercy was the last game in a run of stellar, phenomenal, arcade action wrestling games. It was so much fun. I one of my all-time favorite games. And it was worth going back and buying a retro console to play that one game again. So a lot of fun. Well,
a good discussion.
guys, that's been this week's official topic. Shadow, thank you so much for coming on. This is the Loot Bros podcast. Shadow, is there anywhere you want to plug your socials, plug your shows, tell everybody where they can find you and follow you and all that good stuff, stalk you even?
I've already had a stalker once. Let's not go that far. If you wanna get in touch with me, you can catch me on Twitter at Shadowless Edge, on True Achievements at Shadowless Edge, or on Twitch on the GPN Hall of Gamers podcast. Also got Patreon if you want to support us as well. Where I also do a second podcast called Lights, Camera, and Action, which is about my inability to understand anything of video game culture in terms of movies. And Matt basically explaining me through everything in terms of actors, in terms of acting, in terms of actually going out and watching a goddamn movie.
Awesome.
Just fun game score or trophies or whatever you want to do.
Both.
Just play games.
We do both. Yeah, play games, get all the points. Don't play Nintendo because that sucks.
Yeah, play any system that has achievements / trophies.
That's right.
And support any system that actually gives a damn about.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. CJ, Tbyrd, thank you for joining. Thank you for being here and us having this great conversation. Guys, if you're listening, if you made it this far, check out our other shows. Check out the Avocation to Climb, the monthly Xbox shill podcast that Phil Spencer himself is sponsoring. I don't care what anybody says. He is funding that out of his own pocket. But
could you imagine how
CJ's got all the connections?
Could you imagine how disturbed he would be if he knew people had that sort of gamer score? He'd be disgusted.
Oh, I'm sure they have a monthly board meeting where they sit back and they're like, "How can we exploit this crew right here?"
I mean, they already know about Randall Thor. I'm sure they're aware.
Yeah. They probably disturbs them, nevertheless, though.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Share, subscribe, do all the things.
Time is running out, the blood is flowing down the streets. People need to know we're living in a war zone. In the streets with the truth, tell them that it's on. Get right or get left, what will it be? Time is running out, the blood is flowing down the streets.